And I know I cursed more than a few times, but like I said, Breakfast of Champions, it's not only going to be a healthy dose of hustle nutrition, but it's also going to be a healthy dose of some profanity. And it's also going to be a healthy dose of some real shit.
Connected to Sales Remastered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sales Remastered. My name is Daniel. I'm your host. And in this episode of Breakfast of Champions, I'm going to share another piece of content, another topic that's really going to make you think about things in a different way. It's going to remaster and revise and man, damn, I wish I had a third re. Anyways, we'll retry that bitch later. So in this episode, I'm gonna share with you something that I thought about because I went through, right, not too long ago. As a matter of fact, I've been through it a couple times, and I believe that you might relate to it. And if you do, I want you to think of someone who else can relate to this and share it with them, maybe tag them or shoot over the video link to their email and let them know that this place of greatness exists called @Sales Remastered on YouTube and Facebook. And so in this episode, though, I want to touch on what I just left on. And so if you ever want to see what happens before these videos are shot, because these aren't edited, right? I just turn on the camera and usually I just go, and I'll explain how I'm able to do that, because I think that if you understand how, then you could try to learn how to do it. And if you can become great at improv, then you can become great at sales. You don't necessarily need to be great at improv, but I want you to learn how to think on your feet. And similar to these videos, I go on live to the Instagram account. So if you haven't checked out the Instagram account, bro, I don't know what to tell you anymore. I've invited you damn near 100 times, and still, if you haven't been on that page, I get it. You're probably the only one person on this earth that don't got an IG account. I get it. But if you choose to, and you're already there, right? So look at the link or search @Sales Remastered in the search bar of IG, and you just might catch today's live feed. But in the live feed, I shared with my audience, because I do this live show during my cardio. And so I'm usually inside the bicycle room at the gym, and I'm all alone most of the time because no one really wakes up that early. There's no class during that time. And today I did the topic of helping a lot of the audience avoid settlement, meaning that I gave them and I shared with them some mental hacks on how to avoid hitting your plateau, how to avoid hitting your bottom. And even though those are two different things, right? Like when you hit your bottom, that's just, there's nowhere else to go but up. But when you hit a plateau, you could very well be at the top. You could very well be the top producer of your organization. You could be the one. But when you get to that one, there comes a time where you no longer have any competition, right? Like you're kind of just killing it, like killing it in a good way. You're smashing it, bruh. And you are doing what you set out to do. But when you hit that level, it is possible that you plateau. It is possible that you just hit a maximum limit that the sources and support and platform and everything you use just cannot penetrate. It can't go anymore because it's just, scientifically shit's just not possible. And so when you get to that point, even though you're at such a high level of success, you could still plateau. And why I bring up both is because they all root back to our way of thinking. And when either way, whether it's bad or good, right? You could be at a plateau, or you could be at your rock bottom. Either way, or either side of the table, you'll get to a point where you just feel like you're done, you're spent. And this happens a lot, right? It happens especially in our industry, especially if you're a mortgage banker. And you just get to a point where you're just like, bro, I'm fucking done. Like, and you feel that way because you live for the weekend. You get depressed when it gets closer to Sunday night. You'll notice that your tonality, your attitude, your momentum, your demeanor changes from Monday compared to Friday, right? Like on Monday, you're just grumpy fuck. Monday, you don't want no one talking to you. Monday, you're just like, God damn it, dude. It's okay. Like I'm telling you this because I know, and I've been there, motherfuckers. I've been there at least once or twice this year. You get there, It's just the way we're wired, and it's okay. And I want to share that with you because even though you catch me on these highlight reels, you catch me after the gym, or you catch me in a coaching session, or you catch me in a meeting in front of, mortgage bankers or professionals, wherever you catch me, at that point in time, I might have seemed motivated. At that point in time, I might have seemed confident. But we are all human, and we get to a point where we are not as motivated. We are not as confident. And my goal is to show you how to avoid, or at least dig yourself out of it, because what I hear most often is, Daniel, how do you stay so motivated? Well, I'm gonna share that with you right now in this episode. So, hack number 1 is music. I love music. And you may not like music. Maybe music isn't your thing. And you're like, you know what, Daniel, I just like to sit in silence and read a book. And if that's your thing, cool. But let me explain something to you and why I like music. From a younger kid, I relied heavily on music. I relied heavily on music, not only to drown out the background noise, but to take me to a state where I felt motivated. And here's a fun fact for you. If you've ever watched Bloodsport, man, you watch Bloodsport. So in Bloodsport, there was that scene, right, where he was getting trained by his neighbor who he stole the sword, Yoshidoshi, right? And so when he was going through the training before the Kumite and shit, like they had that background music. Remember? It was like that fucking 1980s, music theme or soundtrack theme that just got you hyped. Man, I used to love that shit. And it would happen on other movies too. And you just got to think, right? Think about your traditional 80s movie or 90s movie, like Karate Kid. Like, I'm talking not Will Smith's son Karate Kid. I'm talking about the old original Karate Kid with Daniel LaRusso. And there were certain songs that would happen at the height of a movie where just the music, right? It happens today, even on these movies, but I'm just trying to bring you back to the origin. And so anyway, long story short is that used to get me in the mood where, man, I just loved soundtracks. I loved the way the music kind of peaked out in emotion. And so it became my hack. It became my hack to change my mind state. It became my hack to avoid any negative thoughts I had in my head at that time. And even though I was a young kid, I would still have negative thoughts, right? I would get depressed. I would get upset because I had a lot of questions, right? Like, how come I'm not with my dad? How come my dad and I don't live together? Where's my mom? How come I live like this, but my friends live like that? So there's still a lot of questions, but in order to drown that out, and you take your focus away. And so my focus went away on music. And even through my teenage years, I became so infatuated with music. I always had speakers with me. I always had headphones with me. And what I loved to do was I used to love to play instrumentals. And on these instrumentals, basically it's the song without the words, I would actually what's called freestyle. I would make up raps and shit. I know. and so if you think about a beat, you only have a certain amount of time to come up with these words, and they have to rhyme, and they have to be on the beat, and they have to fit. Well, why I liked it was because it changed my state. It took so much of my focus where it was just me and the beat. But when you think about freestyling, and if you haven't ever freestyled, just imagine thinking in rhymes. Imagine thinking out loud in rhymes. Like if I was thinking out loud right now and everything I said rhymed, that would be kind of like a freestyle. But now you're adding a beat to it. Now you're adding claps to it. Now you're adding limits to it. Anyway, long story short is that I became so hyper-focused in it where now I still do it. It became my therapy. And so how does this amount to you? How does this help you? Because you might be like, D, I don't like rap music. I don't like freestyling. Bro, move on to the next hack because this shit ain't for me. Well, actually it is for you, because there are certain songs or certain sounds that make you react a certain way. So even if you don't like music, you probably like movies. Even if you don't like movies, you probably like sound, right? And I hope you do. And that's probably what attracted you to me, is because there's something different about the tonality. There's something different about the tone. It's like when you ever meet somebody and you could tell that they're fake as fuck, right? And you just tell, right? Like, just because it's the way they talk, it's the way they sound, it's the way they hold themselves together. And usually this comes with a cheesy ass salesman that don't fuck around over her. Salesmen that don't study their craft and they're not emotionally aware. Those guys, like, they just sound fake. And probably not even salesmen, maybe just a friend of a friend. You meet them and you're like, oh, this motherfucker is artificial as fuck. And so there's something about that tone that kind of pushes you away. Well, on the flip side, there's also sounds that make you kind of lean in and make you, attracted, like you are attracted to the message. And typically that has to do with music. And so I want you to think about how music and sounds affect you, because that's actually a hack. It's a mental hack. And I want you to think that, back to, let's say, cleaning your house or last time you went to the gym. There could be a preference in the music that you listen to. And I want you to pay attention to that, because you choose that type of melody, rhythm, or sound because it makes you feel a certain way. It makes you feel a special kind of way, right? And so me, for example, like when we clean our house, I like playing old 70s songs, like old funk, right? Like Zapp and Roger will be bumping through my house, or Kool and the Gang, or Earth, Wind and Fire, because there's just something about it, like you just want to have a barbecue, clean up, and go iron your clothes and shit. Like I want to dress in my Easter clothes, but that's just me. But if you heard the song, you might be like, I don't like it. Right? So that's okay. You don't need to, but you just need to find a certain sound that changes your mind state and puts you in this different state of mind where you are in position to win. And so in your case, it could be orchestra, it could be slow jam, it could be Montel Jordan, right? This is how we do it, right? That's your thing. And so every time, like, you have to dig deep, whether it's wake up early, or whether it's go to the gym, or whether it's do outbound calls, or whether it's man, I have to be confident right now, I'm going into a job interview, or whatever it is. I want you to think about creating a playlist and like a go-to playlist, and be like, hey, let me play that fucking Montel Jordan, and it gets you in that state, right? Like, it just changes you. And here's a good example. It's kind of like where, like, you ever walk by someone and then you smell like it could be a cologne or perfume, and it brings you back to like fucking 8th grade. Right? Like, that happens to me when I smell women's cool water perfume, or when I smell something from Bath and Body Works, right? Like that fruit smell. You know what it does? It brings me back to being a teenager when I was in some girl's room, or back to a teenager, maybe at my first kiss, and smelling on the neck that cool water women's cologne or women's perfume. I'll never forget that smell. It will always bring me back to a place in Long Beach where I had my first kiss. Weird, right? To this fucking day, it brings me back. And same thing with like Bath and Body Works, right? Like if I smell something like that, it brings me back to high school. Like, I envision a cassette. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. And sometimes that happens to you, where you'll smell something or you'll hear something, and it brings you back to a mental state, like a time in your life. And it's because our brains anchor it to a specific memory. And so if you anchor all your good memories to Montel Jordan, right? Like, this is how we do. And so every time you hear that chorus, you go back to that time zone, or you go back to that mental state. And that mental state just happens to be at your strongest, at your most confident, at the most swaggerific person or version of you, right? That's your game. This is you. Like, that's where you need to get it at. And again, it could be Montel Jordan. It could be fucking, I don't know, Kenny G. Like, you might just like the sound of a flute, and you rock that flute, boo-boo. You do whatever the fuck you need to do to get your mind state changed, because when you figure out that you could change and you can manipulate your own energy and attitude, well, guess what, boo-boo? You figured out the code to play this game however the fuck you want. So I'm gonna see you in the next video. I'm sorry I got passionate. I know it's getting steamy up in this bitch. And I know I cursed more than a few times. But like I said, Breakfast of Champions, it's not only going to be a healthy dose of hustle nutrition, but it's also going to be a healthy dose of some profanity. And it's also going to be a healthy dose of some real shit. It's also going to be a healthy dose of some shit that you just can't find anywhere else from another motherfucker sharing that shit for free play, boy. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.